Hello, welcome back to Rare Reads. And this is going to be a fairly short review, really, of this book, The Expansion Project by Ben Pester. It was his debut, a very successful debut, got rave reviews in the newspapers and stuff. Also was shortlisted for the Goldsmith Prize and the Nero Prize as well. So it won't be, I'm not going to do a big long thing because there is quite a lot kind of already out there. But I read it, I loved it. I would put it in tier 4, absolutely. I think it's a great book. So I thought I'd just, just a quick, my personal take on it. So the premise is, and it is a kind of high concept book, this one. So the premise is, it's a guy and he's taken his daughter, it's a take your daughter to work day at his where he works. So he works at this place called Cap Meadow, and it's like a sort of sprawling corporate business that he works for. I don't think we're ever really told what the business actually does, and I think that's kind of part of the point of it. His job there is he kind of writes these guides that, and I'll maybe talk specifically about one of these guides that he writes later on. So that's his job there, but it's not really clear what the company actually does, but we know it's this sprawling great kind of corporation. So one of the themes is kind of the corporate takeover of the world kind of thing, I would say anyway. That's how I kind of read it, because I guess because I'm a bit anti-corporate really. And so I'd say for the first chapter, I nearly stopped reading it because I'd seen it kind of raved about and thought it was going to be this like really kind of out there kind of book. And then the first chapter, is just this guy gets up to getting ready to go to work, and he's taking his daughter. It's take your daughter to work day. So his daughter is going to work with him, and he's kind of trying to get her ready and get himself ready and get to work on time. And there's quite a bit of kind of friction between him and the kid because he's kind of not fully in control, sort of thing, and he's feeling guilty about sort of snapping at her and things like this. So it just felt kind of like a Tony Parsons book or something like that. It felt quite sort of middle class, middle-aged guy, family guy, and I was kind of, well, where is this going? But, stay with it, because from that point on, chapter 1, is quite mundane sort of thing. I think there is probably a point to that actually when you kind of get further in. Then the sort of weirdness and the sort of darkness ramps up kind of from that point on, and it gets more and more kind of intense as you go through the book. So the first thing that I loved about this is the world building, first rate world building. So you have absolutely got to believe in this corporate space and this kind of business that he works for this book to work. And the sense that you get is, it almost feels like this building or buildings, because it's not just one building, it's a huge, massive, corporate place. You almost get the sense that it's kind of this organically like it's got a life of its own and it's growing. And so I'm just going to read you a tiny little bit about the kind of the physical nature of this place. So it's called Cap Meadow. The streets of Cap Meadow, chewed at the edges, night here in the outer limits. The video footage is fresh and snappy. The foundation surface area, the ground they walk on, is juicy and has not yet fully set. So you just get this sense that it's this kind of like organic place where the edges are kind of, soft and slippery, and it's kind of constantly, it's like it's going to grow another zone almost kind of thing. And then when it's grown, it will then kind of solidify sort of thing. But it's having these kind of phases where it's kind of, it's all kind of soft and slippery. So it just feels really kind of precarious kind of thing. So I loved that about it. And the other thing, I quite like the structure of it as well. So it's kind of, you've got bits of it that are narrated by the guy who's called Tom Crawley, who's, doing the take your daughter to work day thing. So you get bits that narrate, and he's this guide writer. That's what he does there. But then you get other bits that are, that we sort of see through recorded footage. There's an archivist in there, and we get bits that are coming from the point of view of the archivist as well. But the archivist kind of tells us they're recording something, there's data there, but it's going to be destroyed sort of thing. So you get this kind of sense that, nothing's kind of, this kind of precarious nature to it. And so throughout the book, this Thomas Crowley guy, so at the beginning, he's taken his daughter to work. He then somehow manages to lose his daughter within this kind of huge, sprawling, corporate space. And for the rest of the book, he's trying to get his daughter back, or trying to find where she's gone off to, which is all really a kind of, or as I've read it, is a kind of an allegory. So the way I've read this book is it's about, thematically, it's about the way that it's about job creep, and the way that our work impinges on our personal lives, largely due to technology, isn't it? I'm sure we're all guilty of being sat at home and, looking at our work emails or whatever. So I read it as an allegory in terms of the more absorbed he becomes with work and the more that work demands of him, the more kind of estranged he becomes from his family and the less of a good kind of parent he is, or is able to be. That's kind of how I read it, but I may well be putting some of my own, personal experience onto it. But there is this also sense of, is he losing his mind? So he's kind of put on sort of rest duties kind of thing for a while in the book, because he's so obsessed with finding his daughter, and the workplace is telling him, or his HR manager is telling him, oh, she's fine, she's at home, she's at home. Why do we have to keep going through this process of telling you that, she was never here? And there's this whole thing of like, she was never even there, and that there was no take your daughter to work day. So you're questioning, he's questioning his sanity. You as a reader are questioning his sanity. It is a bit kind of unreliable narrator. So there's one bit where he gets summoned by HR and he has to go to the green area, which is a really vague name for this place where he has to go, on the 35th floor. And 35 floors, it gives you a sense, obviously, of the scale. And it's like they're in the belly of the beast kind of thing. And there's this woman that he meets there, and she's like, oh, it took her days to get there. There's a bit where I think he's trying to go home and he just gets like lost in the car park because it's just so vast. And when we're told about this green area on floor 35, he also mentions floor 45, and that there's been an event or leak on floor 45, but nobody really knows what's happened there. And now it's been kind of like barricaded off and nobody's allowed to go up there. And he talks about how he had to write this guide explaining to people why they mustn't go on floor 45, but we never know. It's like, just a mystery, like what happened there? Why are people not allowed to go up there? But absolutely not clear as to what these guides really are for, or what this company actually, what service they provide, or what products they're making. You're never told, which reminded me a lot of Severance. And I absolutely love Severance. I think it's one of the best things that's ever been on TV. When I watched it, it really got in my head. And this book's the same. It like really got in my head kind of thing. And I love it when, that happens. Quite a rare thing, isn't it, really? So yeah, it is similar to Severance in the sense as well, where in Severance they had that thing, didn't they, where they would tell them your work is was it important and beautiful or something like that, but just keeps it like really, really ambiguous and really vague. I'd say it's like quite sort of Kafkaesque. And I'm seeing at the minute quite a bit of hype for obviously the A24 film Backrooms. And I'm seeing some people saying, if you like that, or if you think you're going to like that, then you should check out this book, because this is a kind of forerunner to that. But obviously Severance was the forerunner, because Severance was out in 2022. This book didn't come out till 25. Don't know if it was a direct influence or not. It doesn't really matter, does it, really? And I'm sure comment me. I'm sure there's something that was a forerunner to Severance before that. So, nothing's original, is it really? So that's it. I'm going to keep it short on this one. Thanks for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe. And my next longer one will be on some of my favourite short stories. Take care. Keep reading.